Hey gun people, let's talk about impeachment. Cover a little history here, a little why Obama probably should be impeached and why we have a weak Congress that isn't. But in order to understand kind of the background, and of course they aren't educating people who vote now or who judge the news by the liberal left media, so people don't understand the consequences of impeachment and why it was there and how the founders did it. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a history to bring you up to why Obama should be the most impeached president in the freaking history of our country, and nothing is being done. So the things for, and I got some notes here because there's a few things that I want to make sure I cover and I don't want to miss because I'll start rambling. So impeachment is kind of done when they were developing on how the president is impeached, and the foundings were sitting around saying this should be this, and the Federalist Papers and all that. They said there has to be a way for Congress to rule in an out-of-control president that totally disregards the law and does things. So how can we do that? But we can't make it so easy that it'll be done for just political reasons, which it normally is the driving force normally. But, I mean, if political allies were aligned, we would probably have impeachment easier. But because there's political alliances, it normally takes the 3/4% and who's got the most and who can do it, etc. And I'll get into that. So there's been 3 presidential impeachments since our country's been established. The first one was with Lincoln and Andrew Jackson, and then the second one was Nixon, and the third was Clinton. And Obama should be the fourth, but it won't because we got a weak-ass Congress. So Congress only has power if they want to use it. There's a good check and balance that Congress was given saying, hey, if a president commits high crimes and misdemeanors, then we can impeach him, remove him from office. Well, what is high crimes and misdemeanor? Now, we get into the definition of words because in Clinton, when he was being impeached, his lawyers, his slew of lawyers, making hundreds of thousands of dollars paid for by taxpayers to keep his crooked ass in office, and the liberals were happy and the Republicans just wanted to hang him because he wasn't Republican. But the fact of the matter was, he was dirty and he shouldn't have been in office. He violated his oath. And that's kind of what the founders wanted. Remember, when the founders were doing this, they were like, look, we need to make a way to do this so we don't have somebody up in office that ignores the law, lies to the people, covers up, uses the government for his own benefit to enhance his own pocket, etc. We have to have a way to put these people in check. So they put the term high crimes and misdemeanor. Now, in today's language, a felony, misdemeanor, infraction, those are, and some misdemeanors have first, second, third degree. Felonies have first, second, third degree. Some people don't call them that. They just go by the prisons. A first degree felony would be life in prison or death. Second degree, maybe 25 years or lower. Third degree, maybe 1 year. So there's different, and the definitions change. But high crimes and misdemeanor, that term comes from back about 18th century when we took it from the King's Law or the British law that said high crimes and misdemeanors were basically crimes kind of against the public's trust. It didn't say that, but that was the understanding. Kind of like if you take an oath of office and you have the power of the people and the power of the government, that oath has to mean something. And you can't have people that take an oath, civil servants, etc. If you take an oath, you can't have them out there doing their own thing, padding their own pocket. There has to be a way to remove them. Well, since the president is so high, they're like, how can we put this check? Okay, we'll give it to Congress. Well, we can't make it too easy because the founders knew anything that was easy for government would get over-involved and do everything and screw it up. Pretty soon it would become tyrannical and people would lose their freedoms. Just like what's happening. You can't make government easy. These damn liberals always tell me, we got to get along, we got to work together, we got to reach across the aisle. That's all BS for their agenda because they want us reaching to let them run their agenda. Government was made to be difficult. It was made to be, you know what, if you're going to get involved, you got to have large majorities. You got to have a lot of support in order to get involved. Otherwise, we're not going to allow it. And that's what they did for impeachment. So it takes 3/4 of the Senate to do an impeachment. You can't just have half. You can't have, almost half, a little more than half, one more than half. We can't have just the percentage more than half. So they made it 3/4 saying, look, if we get 3/4 of the Senate to agree, then it probably needs to be done. So some of the things for high crimes and misdemeanors, and again, they were talking about impeachment for conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, obviously, treason is a serious offense. You ought to be able to remove the president for it. Obviously, you can't, because we have treason going on every day in this damn country, from this president bringing in our enemies, bringing in unchecked Muslims from countries that want to kill us, that have sworn to kill us, opening the borders, violating federal law, telling the border. I mean, it just goes on and on what this president's doing. But when it was put in there for high crimes and misdemeanors, it meant kind of things that were serious: bribery, treason, padding your own pocket, using the IRS to promote your stuff because it works for you, and using them in an unlawful manner to attack your adversaries, which is what got Nixon in trouble, or part of it. So high crimes and misdemeanor usually meant for those people who had special duties requiring an oath of office and power not shared by the common citizen. We don't have the power of the government. We can't use the government to go after people. But people that take an oath in the government can, especially President, Congress, and those type people. Judges, etc. You have to impeach a federal judge. There's a federal judge I'm going to talk about, I think it's Hastings, here in a minute. So, high crimes and misdemeanors, let's see. Supreme Court held the phrase, okay, they were arguing the phrase on what it meant. Clinton kind of did this because Clinton got into arguing. His defense and his lawyers were arguing, what is the definition of is? Did you have sexual relationship with that woman? Well, what is the definition of relationship? What is the definition of sex? What is relationship? What is the definition of this and woman? And so that's how he was just using his lawyer tricks, what I call the sleazy lawyer tricks, to redefine words. The liberal left uses that very well and fluently, and the right just lets them get away with it. Again, the only thing worse than a two-party system is a one-party system. Right now this country's run on one party, the left. They're dominating, they're smashing out the right, they're stomping on free speech, and they're totally taking over the country, and it's not supposed to be that way. But we keep electing the same damn idiots that do nothing because we want our guy, because it's our team, because we're more worried about party than we are about the country. It's thundering out here, but we might get some rain. That's why I kind of moved under the shed here too. Let's see here. Where are we at? High crimes, misdemeanors. High crimes, some of the things that were considered high crimes and misdemeanor were various misappropriation of government funds, taking money. The FBI appointee got discharged for buying a plane that he wasn't authorized. That was one of the first FBI directors that got dismissed. So, misappropriation of fund, not prosecuting cases, appointing unfit subordinates. Gee, we don't have any of that going around. Not spending money allocated, promoting themselves ahead of a deserving candidates or other people, threatening a grand jury, disobeying orders from Congress. Gee, we don't have that. Arresting someone and keeping them, losing a ship through neglect. Let's see, granting warrants without probable cause, bribery. Those are just some of the things that people have said. That's what high crimes misdemeanors meant back in the day when the founders put it in there. They didn't know that 200 years later you would have a bunch of damn lawyers and liberals changing the definition of everything, reinterpreting it to fit their liberal agenda. So, high crimes and misdemeanor, you got to have that concept to understand why they're doing it. Now, Judge Hastings was impeached, and he was a federal judge. He was a black man. Okay, and so he was appointed as a federal judge probably because he was black. I know I can't say that, but you know, we got to promote him and we got to have him in there to show we're not racist, and we got to hire tokens. And so he was put in a federal judgeship. Probably didn't have to pass a background, just like in cop work. If an agency needs to hire more black people, they don't do the background, they ignore things, whereas a white candidate wouldn't have to. But that's just typical progressive liberal shit. That's trying to make everything about the white privilege when it's really about minority privilege. So Judge Hastings was appointed to the federal bench. What was his qualifications? I don't know. I didn't read it. You can go look him up. But he was fired, and he was impeached. And he was impeached because they had him on a phone taking a bribe from another black guy who was well known in crimes and well doing. And this black guy said that this is going to be the result of his judging and his ruling. And he promised it, and he got paid big money, and the judge ruled exactly how he said he was going to rule. And then, of course, back then they didn't have as much investigation or knowledge or how to loophole. And they pulled the case, they arrested the dude that took the bribery, he was convicted, they got him, but they didn't have enough on the judge. So when the judge went to trial, he passed the trial. Now talk about the difference between criminal and preponderance of the evidence. Criminal action is beyond a reasonable doubt, so it's a very high standard. The judge got away with that. I think they either once or twice they tried to charge him, and he beat it. Well, the Senate came back and said, you know what? Just because there's not enough to convict you for a criminal, we know you did it. We have enough. You lied. You misrepresented. He did some things. They impeached him. So he was impeached. I don't know if he was the first black judge to be impeached, but he was one of the first. And a black judge on one of the subcommittees, or a black senator, said, you know what? He's guilty. He needs to go. So it wasn't just the mean white people after the black guy. So he got kicked off. Well, did I mention that he went and ran for Congress and now he's part of Congress from Florida? Anyway, so it doesn't really, I mean, he gets kicked off and impeached for being a federal judge, turns right around, becomes a member of Congress where he has to take an oath. That's how screwed up our system is. So let's go to the first impeachment. And this is with Andrew Jackson. Now, Andrew Jackson was the vice president of Lincoln. So when Lincoln got killed, he became the president. Well, when Lincoln picked him on his first day, when Jackson became in office, his first day he gives a speech and he's drunk. And evidently he throws out slurs and he's making outrageous comments and he's drunk. And people were pissed. And Congress was pissed. Okay, did I say he was a left Democrat and Congress was right Republican? So, Congress didn't like him, found a way, they wanted to go after him, and they were going after him. So when Lincoln got killed, he became president. Congress goes, shit, how can we enact this impeachment law? We got to get some crime. So they started looking to find a crime to impeach him for. Well, they seized his bank records, they did subpoenas, they did all kind of shit trying to catch Jackson doing something, and they didn't find anything. Well, they did get him, because they passed a law, Congress passed a law, I think it was called the 10-Year Act or something, and it said basically the president can't fire a cabinet member or somebody who's got tenure without going through Congress. They have to approve it before he can fire it. Well, Jackson fired his Secretary of War without going through Congress, and Congress goes, we got him. He violated the law. So they tried to impeach him on that. Well, they almost got him impeached, and it didn't fly by one vote of the 3/4 vote. One vote said nope, and that was the turning vote, and Jackson did not get impeached. But that was the first attempt at impeachment. The second one came with Nixon. And then on Nixon, let me make sure I didn't leave nothing out here. Congress impeached him for disobeying the law, high crimes and misdemeanor. He lost by one vote. I think I pretty much covered everything on him that I want to cover. Okay, Nixon impeachment. Okay, Nixon was a Republican, and we had a Democratic Congress, and the Dems didn't like him because he was a Republican, so they went after him. Political, left, right. It's been going on since our country was started. Ain't nothing new. The only problem is now the Republicans have rolled over and let the left just totally dominate the agenda, the schools, the education system, the politics, the appointments, judges. They've just let them take over while the Republicans sitting there going like, as long as I get my job and I get reelected, I don't care about the country. It's just crazy. So Nixon, what happened on Nixon? Nixon was involved in the DNC, the Democratic Convention Center, was at the Watergate complex, which was a bunch of buildings. And it got broken into. Well, when it got broken into and some things were stolen, somehow there was connections to Nixon and his party. Well, evidently Nixon knew who did it or paid bribe money to somebody who tried to get him because they knew he was involved. So he either agreed to pay or there was some sort of bribe. So this went on for a while. Everybody was upset. They wanted Nixon out. The Dems wanted it. They all hit it. They got the ACLU involved. Oh, God. ACLU's never gone after a Democratic president. That's just a clue. But anyway, ACLU went after Nixon. Everybody was like, we got to get this guy out. He's no good, blah, blah. And he did. He broke the law. He should have been out. So they went after him, and how did they end up getting him? They got him to appoint a special prosecutor. And the special prosecutor started finding stuff, and Nixon didn't like the way he was playing it out, and he wanted to go away. So he tried to squash it. Also, Nixon was using the IRS to go after people that were against him, and he told them to circumvent, the neutrality of the IRS that should be about presenting taxes and treating people equally per the Constitution. Nixon says, you know what, I'm the president, you were the IRS, you work for me, go after these guys. Kind of like Obama does, as he's got the IRS going after guns, Second Amendment, any pro-conservative, any pro-American nonprofit the IRS is auditing and going after. But again, Obama's got the magic black card that he can pull out anytime. So Nixon went after did all this stuff, and the special prosecutor was getting kind of close and getting a lot of stuff. So Nixon told, and I'm not sure who appointed the special prosecutor, if it was the Attorney General or one of the senators on the committee or whatever, but he told the guy that appointed him, fire him. And the guy goes, I ain't firing him. He's a special prosecutor, he's doing his job, I ain't firing him. So Nixon goes, you're fired, get out. The second guy in charge, Nixon goes, fire the special prosecutor. He goes, I ain't firing him, he's doing his job, I'm not firing him. You're fired, get out. Went to the third guy says, shit, I saw what happened to the first two, I'm firing him. So he fired him. Well, that pissed off a lot of people. They called that, I think, a Saturday Night Massacre because all this went on Saturday. So when Nixon tried to do all this shit, now everybody's pissed and they're focusing on him. Or remember, it's normally not the crime, it's more the cover-up. And politicians just don't get it. But anyway, so they go after Nixon. They have the votes. They know they're going to get him. And they go after him for 3 reasons. And the 3 reasons for the misdemeanor, the high crimes and misdemeanors were obstruction of justice. He lied to the public. He was lying about his involvement. Abuse of power using the IRS. And contempt of Congress because he wasn't cooperating. Also, Nixon, kind of the nail in the coffin that sold him, is he was recording himself in the White House for historic value, which I think is a great idea. I think it ought to be recorded. But he was recording himself, and Congress or other people didn't know about it. When they found out about it, they wanted the tapes. And Nixon played, just like Obama has done, executive privilege. I don't have to give you the tapes. Those are mine. Well, the Supreme Court said, you're wrong. It doesn't fall under executive privilege because it got pushed and went to the Supreme Court, and 8-1, the justice says, oh, hell no, you're giving them the tape. So he gave him the tape. It was a lot of redaction. There was a bunch of issues, but the tapes pretty much confirmed he was guilty and he was doing shit he shouldn't have been doing. So they knew they had him. That was a smoking gun. So he knew he was going to get impeached. But it went to a vote, I think, in the House. It didn't go to the Senate because impeachment, the House has to do it, and then the Senate has to enforce it and 3/4 vote to pass it. Well, before it went there, and I'm not even sure if it went through the House, I think they just kind of did a pre-vote, or they kind of saw who was there, and they told them, hey, these guys are going to vote for impeachment, so it's going to pass the House. And Nixon knew this, so Nixon resigned. He resigned because he knew his goose was cooked and he was going to get impeached. So he resigned to avoid it. Now, there's some people that say he was impeached. I think he was impeached. When you resign to avoid it, it's kind of like when you quit because you know they're going to fire you. You kind of got fired. But, I mean, sometimes people nowadays quit so they can't get fired because it makes it easier to fight it or whatever. But some people make them fire you so you can challenge the unlawful firing. And he could have challenged it if he went for the impeachment, but he didn't. He quit before and left. 26 people went to jail on the Watergate hearings. 26 people went to prison. Ford, who Nixon appointed as took over, pardoned straight across the board. I pardon, I bless Richard Nixon, the president, of any and all crimes he may have or was involved in during his presidency. King's X, have a nice life, collect your retirement. You talk about some bullshit, but you know what? It's our government. People weren't upset. People didn't force it. People didn't say anything. They let it go, so it flew. The only time things get done is when the people stand up and it has to be egregious. Now let's move to Clinton. Let's see, make sure I put everything. Nixon quit, okay. Clinton, third time in history, they went after Clinton for 2 misdemeanor and high crimes and misdemeanor charges, and they said we want it for perjury and obstruction of justice. He lied to the grand jury. Now, Clinton did so much stuff, it was pathetic. Is cheating on your wife a crime? No. Is it doing it in the Oval Office when you're supposed to be doing the people's business under your wife's nose and then lying about it? I mean, that's pretty egregious. That pretty much says the guy has no ethics and he's probably not going to abide by his oath, which means he can't be trusted, which is why impeachment was put in there, so we couldn't have people in high office with power that couldn't be trusted. There would be a way to remove them. Now, the left will say, no, it was personal. It was about a private relationship. It's not the people's business. It doesn't matter if he lied. Even though he lied under oath to a grand jury, the left stood by their man and said he didn't do anything wrong. So they made it into politics, said, oh, it's just Republicans making a big deal. This isn't a big deal. It went on and on. They tried to vote for him. Not one Democrat voted against Bill Clinton, and it didn't pass. So and I'm not sure if they call that an acquittal or if I think it is an acquittal. If it doesn't pass, it's an acquittal. The problem with impeachment is there's no middle ground. The president can do what he wants. Congress really has nothing they can do to remove him or penalize him except impeachment. That's the only thing they can do. So it's kind of like, you know, death or not death. They either going to impeach you and try to get you out of office, or they're going to do nothing. And they're doing nothing to Obama. So what are some of the things that Obama, let's see, Congress, let's see, 2/3 vote was 67 senators that was required to remove Clinton. 50 senators voted to remove Clinton for obstruction of justice. 45 voted to remove him on perjury. Not one Democrat voted guilty on either charge, and Clinton walked. Why? Because they held true to their party, man. It was us. It was the Democrats. No matter what else, we just gotta beat. Screw the country. Screw ethics. Screw doing the right thing. We just gotta win for our side. I get so tired of that, and I see the same thing when it comes to women, when it comes to blacks, when it comes to illegals, the poor minorities. Everything is for your cause and never about the country. And that's why we're in such a bad shape. That's why I'm doing a revolutionary series. So let's see what Obama has done, maybe some high crimes and misdemeanor. He sealed all his records so nobody could see his birth certificates or his school. Nobody knows what his school was, what his grades were, what kind of papers, what kind of guy he was. He sealed them. He refused to supply his birth certificate for years. Finally, after months and years or whatever, they finally gave something that people think are forged that we really don't know, that he could have gave right off the bat, but he didn't. Why didn't he? The liberals will say, well, because he didn't have to. Other people with a brain will say he was hiding and biding time, or he would have done it. Those who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. Let's see. He's ignored federal judges' orders. They've ordered him to produce things. They've ordered him to seal the borders. They ordered him not to pass his Immigration Green Card Act, and he's still giving out green cards. They've ordered him, he has to enforce federal law. He still says open the borders and let them go. 80% of the people that come in illegally, they let go in America. He has totally destroyed our immigration and any type of borders, our system. He's flooding the school with illegals. He's flooding the school with people that can't speak English. He's taking away the ability of American citizens to get an education in our school system, to find jobs, etc. But the left don't want to hear that. They're too worried about what bathroom you want to use. Let's see, he wrote executive orders that he could kill citizens. He can kill a citizen. Obama can kill a citizen now with no trial, no nothing. If I think you're a domestic terrorist threat and you're hanging around with somebody that I don't think, the government has the right to drone and kill you without a trial, without anything. Man, how's that for freedom? You liberal left always talking about how much freedom you have and how great Democrats are. How is that for freedom? Let's see, he wrote executive orders that he'd kill you as selling no trial. He also wrote that he can lock up citizens and they can be locked up with no trial. If I think you're a terrorist, if Obama says, you know what, I think this red guy's a terrorist, let's drag his ass to Gitmo and lock him up. I don't get a trial, I don't get to see a judge, I get no habeas corpus, I get nothing, no relief. I am in jail for life until he decides to let me out. Boy, ain't that a free country? Woohoo! Let freedom ring! Give them your guns, people. Come on. Feel safe. Sleep good. Give the government your guns, they'll take care of you. Let's see, what else did he do? He has open borders. He's ignored federal law and immigration. He's bringing known enemy into the U.S. from countries that want to kill us with no backgrounds. Doesn't want to do backgrounds. He ordered the Border Patrol to ignore laws. He's arming American enemies like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Taliban. 1 week, we're helping them because they're called our side and they're for us because he wants to overturn administration. The next week, they're an enemy and now they're using our guns against us. Let's see, Fast and Furious. He gave guns to Mexican illegals to take across the border, and they brought the guns back and killed a Border Patrol agent. Some people kind of see that as a crime. The liberal left says, no problem, he's Obama, he's black, you can't say anything or you're a racist. Let's see, what else? U.S. troops in a sovereign country. He went into Pakistan, didn't notify him, that's a sovereign country. He violated all kind of rules and agreement, he violated treaties, he violated sovereign country, brought in our guys, went in, killed Obama, never brought him back, didn't bring him out for trial. When he killed him, he dumped his body at the sea, so nobody could verify, was it really him? Who checked on the government? Was there any free press there? Does anybody know what happened that day except what the government told us? Rick, you're just a conspiracy right-wing Second Amendment guy. You gotta believe the government. Why would he lie? Because he's a freaking liar and he's in politics. That's why. That's what they do. Come on, people, pull your head out. Let's see. He's making laws at his own discretion. He's bypassing Congress. He's abusing executive powers. He's ignoring the Constitution. He's failing to protect the country and the borders. He's releasing known illegals back after they're in the U.S., and then they're killing citizens, and he's still letting them go and not deporting them. He failed to protect our citizens and members of our embassy at Benghazi. Then he lied to the people, making it about a false video that he knew was false. Nobody to this day knows where Obama was, why he wasn't briefed, or what his involvement was in with Benghazi. Nobody knows. Everybody's blaming Hillary. Hillary took the heat. It's all her fault. Nobody has any egg on their face for Obama. You were the commander-in-chief. Hillary worked for you. Why did you let her release lies to the American people? Why did you condone this? The guy that did the video that they blamed it on supposedly is homeless now and he's broke. They put him in jail on a fake claim that he did the video, and they put him in jail to promote their lies. And now he's out of jail and he's homeless. Does anybody care? Oh, Rick, you right-wing guy. You just hate Obama because he's black, because you're a racist. Okay, you keep on living a lie. Let's see. What else did he do? Lied to people about false video. Lied about Obamacare. Totally lied. Forced it through Congress. Tried to declare Congress out of session when they weren't out of session so he could pass laws under the exception when Congress is out of session the president could pass. I mean, the list of shit that he's done. Illegal war in Libya. He's bombing Libya without consent of Congress. He basically declared war. He wanted to replace the regime in Libya, so what did he do? He sent bombers, U.S. resources, money, tax dollars, without Congress, bombed the shit out of them, told Congress later, and said, you know what, I don't need to tell you. No, that's not a crime, Rick. Come on. He's the president. He can do what he wants. Let's see. He released those 5 Taliban terrorists that were known to go kill us for a deserter that deserted during wartime, and he made a trade of 5 terrorists for 1 deserter. Are you kidding me? He used the IRS to target political opponents. Gee, that sounds familiar. The IRS, when they were investigating, took the 5th. When you got administration and government taking a 5th, when you take an oath to tell the truth, when you take an oath for the country, you can't take the 5th. As a cop, if you take the 5th, you're fired. You're done. Cops are held to higher standards than our politicians, and everybody wants to blame the cops for everything. You cannot take the 5th as a cop. You're fired. Let's see here. Used the IRS, destroyed evidence. The IRS lost all their emails. They scratched drives. Allowed Hillary to do email. He just paid ransom $4 million and nobody knows what he got to Iran. To a country that's our ally. He's cutting treaties without going through Congress and having it ratified through Congress with the percent and the votes. He's doing it on his own behind him. No crime, no misdemeanor. Hopefully you understand what impeachment is, how serious it is, how the founders intended for it to be used, how it should be moved, and if you've got 2 brain cells to rub together, you ought to know damn well that if anybody deserved to be impeached, it's that piece of shit in the White House now. Obama, you're a piece of shit and I can't wait for you out of there. All right, I didn't get any rain. Yes, my Obama flag is still flying. I think we have like 60 days or whatever till the election. Hopefully, I can fly a regular flag. Maybe I'll be flying a flag upside down, but who knows. All right, we'll end that there.